Good afternoon. I see the StreamYard took my purple away again. Don't know why. StreamYard is mad at me today for some reason. That's all right. I've had a very bad week. Hi, my name is Debbie. Welcome to my channel. I have to have my purple back. I'm sorry. My mental health needs purple right now. Welcome to the Karen Reed retrial afternoon session, day 16, where we are getting lots of scientists now testifying. Today we are having the medical examiner finally, so the jury can know cause of death. Finally, we get to know why, or not why, but how he died. Not the manner of death, but cause of death, because it was undetermined. And I'm so glad she said that in the last trial. I'm so glad she said that again in this trial, because I was actually afraid that the Commonwealth had gotten to her and had her change her determination. Because why not? Because of all the other corruption in this case, I was really, really afraid that that would have happened. And I'm very glad that she was truthful and forthright and did not change her decision. And she still said it was an undetermined death. And Alessi is crossing her right now, and he's asking good questions like, was there any grass in the laceration on the back of his head? And good questions. So hey, Idaho, I see you made it. I'm glad you made it. Hey, Nancy. Um, hey, Judy. Where is Jill? She took a nap and did not come back. I guess Carla maybe is out with hubby at work. So I have other people here too that are not chatting. Welcome, lurkers. Everybody is welcome. I'm glad that you are all here. Right now, all we're seeing is Ceiling Dion, phrase coined by our deceased friend, Legal Vices, RIP. So I guess we wait. And we don't ever know, because Bev does not know how to be punctual. I don't know if it's Bev or if it's the lawyers or what. I know one day Paul O'Keefe was in trouble, and that was what delayed them coming back from lunch. That day, though, it was a long, long wait. He was saying something to witnesses, I think. He was staring at Karen. What was something to witnesses? I don't know what it means. So at first they put him out of Karen's eye lines, like where he's sitting, he had like a straight eye line, her like glaring at her. And then later in the back row, was always sitting, like last trial, he always sat in the front row, far right. I swear I'm thinking about going back to my old internet. I don't know if this one's worse or better. Because StreamYard doesn't seem to like either one of my internets. I mean, this one's faster, but it doesn't seem to matter to StreamYard. I've got crappy internet. The other one wasn't crappy, it was just slower than this one. Shadow, if you want to be petted all the time, you're going to have to learn to be a lab cat. Come here. Come here. You have to get up here higher so I can pet you. Don't like bending over all the time. You're not the boss of me. You know that? Why are you rubbing against my desk? You trying to make it smell like you? It's not your desk, it's my desk. It doesn't have to smell like you.
So I'm told you want to see me. I'll see you at sidebar.
Followed by pound.
At every break, after every break. I know I keep telling her that she's not, but she doesn't believe me. She thinks she owns me, not the other way around. Even let me shut that door anymore. As soon as I shut it, she goes over and stands in front of it and meows. And then I open it and she walks away. She doesn't even go in there anymore. I mean, she goes in, she yells at me to open the door, and then she just walks away from it. Like, just leave it open. That's my door. Don't you shut my door. She did it yesterday. Travis about laughed his head off. He thought it was hilarious. I'm like, oh yeah, it's not funny. She does that all the time. No, I love it. Because she used to ignore me. She loved Travis and ignored me. I love it. I'm not serious. I love it. To be held. So she doesn't jump up in my lap because she knows if she gets too close, I'm going to grab her and hold her. She doesn't have her name on the door. I should put her name on the door. Like I did for the girls when they were little. I should make a nameplate. Shadow's room. That's what I should do. When the girls were little, I used my Cricut and I made them a nameplate and I took pictures of like their posters, like their boy posters, the boys they were into, the movie stars. I took pictures and I like made them really little and I put them on their nameplates and I put stickers and I cut out their names with the Cricut and I made them their cute little nameplates for their doors when they were little girls. I should do that with the door. I guess so, Judy. I didn't think of it that way. You should have seen her after we put the window air conditioner in the bedroom, because that's the window she likes to get in, and we didn't even think about that. Um, she just sat under the air conditioner and kept looking up, like, "Uh oh, what am I gonna do now?" I felt so bad. But there's 2 windows in that bedroom, so she just gets in the other window now.
You are unmuted.
I don't know why she didn't jump on top of it. I guess maybe because she didn't know what it was. Well, no, because cats are curious. I wouldn't have stopped her. I don't know why she didn't. Maybe she did when we weren't looking. I don't know, Carla. I think I need to get my eyes checked. Things have been more blurry today than usual. I don't know if it's the computer feed, the court feed, or my computer, or what. Because remember the 2 stickers yesterday, and Alessi said there was a B on it? I could not see that B, but then I watched it on TV when Peter Tragos was doing his recap yesterday, and I could see the B fine. So I don't know if it's my eyes or if it's just my computer, like the contrast or whatever is different, and like my TV's an HD TV, so now I'm wondering if it's my eyes or my computer screens. But I mean, these screens, so I don't know why I wouldn't be able to. It might just be the court feed is not great.
Was a session. Please be seated. Good afternoon, Dr. Scordi-Bello, and welcome back.
Thank you.
I want to move on to a slightly different aspect of the hypothermia discussion. Is a very difficult diagnosis to make, correct?
Correct.
And you acknowledge that in your grand jury testimony in this proceeding, correct? Do you recall that?
I do.
You indicated in that grand jury proceeding, generally that diagnosing hypothermia is based on contextual clues. Is that correct?
On autopsy findings and investigative information. Yes,
That legal part, sort of the law enforcement contribution, is that correct that you're referring to?
correct.
You diagnosed Mr. O'Keefe with hypothermia based upon certain medical data, gastric area and the pancreatic area. Is that correct?
Correct.
And just for, I think most people will get this, to just be clear, gastric is sort of synonymous with the stomach.
Stomach.
And then we know the pancreas is a separate organ. And in your autopsy, you observed for example, the lining of both the stomach and the pancreas. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the word you used?
Let's start with the stomach. Did you observe the lining of the stomach as part of Mr. O'Keefe as part of the autopsy?
Yes, I observed some hemorrhages in the lining of the stomach.
We'll get to that, right? But I just want to talk about the organs and what aspects of the organs first, and then we'll get to that. And with regard to the pancreas, what aspect of the pancreas did you observe?
I examined both the external surface and the tissues around it, as well as the pancreas itself by making several cuts.
And there was also a histopathology report that was relevant to both the stomach and the pancreas, correct?
Correct.
Histopathology?
Spell it, Mr. Lessman.
Histopatholgy. So that histopath information informed your hypothermia analysis, is that correct?
The histopathology was done to further confirm my finding or my determination of hypothermia.
This is the time of year.
So do I have it correct? And let's start with the pancreas. That you noted the pancreas was congested and diffusely hemorrhagic. Do I have that correct? And you feel free to look at your report, please.
I will.
Y'all know what can cause that? Getting punched in the stomach.
And I specifically, if it helps, I'm
Yes.
looking at
Page 4.
the report of autopsy. It's not numbered pages, but it would be 4. And you see liver, gallbladder, and pancreas is 1. And then you go down a couple more and you see digestive system. That's what I'm focusing on.
Okay.
And then, and the next page is the histopathology.
Yes.
All right. Are we sort of oriented in the same location?
Break up.
All right.
I just can't
So-
help but being logical.
Let's start with the pancreas. So if you look at the histopathology page, it says endocrine and exocrine pancreatic tissue with vascular congestion and patchy parenchymal, that's parenchymal hemorrhage, autolytic changes. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And I want to go at these one at a time. So now I'm going to jump back to the previous page where you discussed the heading liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you see the last sentence says the pancreas is congested and diffusely hemorrhagic. You see that?
Yes.
So now what I'd like to do, and is that what you're rooting in, if you will, the analysis of hypothermia?
The determination of hypothermia was made, yes, based on these findings and the circumstances I was provided. Yes.
Right, and thank you. I'm going to get to the circumstances, but it's sort of the medical legal construct that we were talking about. I want to just start first with the medical, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
So then let's now move to the organ of the stomach, a synonym gastric in terms of your report. So let's go to, please, back to the histopathology section. And under that, under pancreas is stomach. And there's a bulleted one sentence that says gastric tissue with vascular congestion and focal mucosal hemorrhage. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And then let's go back, as we did with the pancreas, for the stomach, go back to the previous page in your report under the heading digestive system. And the second sentence states the gastric mucosa shows focal areas of linear hemorrhages. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
So we've got hemorrhage discussion with the pancreas. We've got hemorrhage discussion with the stomach and the gastric area. Your diagnosis of hypothermia was not based just on gastric and pancreatic hemorrhaging alone, though, was it?
No.
And you did fairly refer to other circumstances just moments ago in your answer, correct?
Correct.
And we're going to get to that. So that means that you're informed by the information we discussed earlier that was provided to you by former Trooper Proctor in his investigation. Is that correct?
Correct.
And one aspect of that information is that he was found, Mr. O'Keefe was found in the snow, correct?
Yes.
So let's go to the death notification report. Am I generally correct that you were, I'm sorry, I will. Thank you, Your Honor. Do you recall the death notification report in this matter?
I do recall, the very initial first information that comes in. That's the death notification given to our intake staff.
Do you recall the contents of that death notification report?
Would you like me to summarize? I don't recall I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you what the gist of it was.
Would it be helpful to you if I showed you a document that
Sure.
might refresh your recollection on what that, a document that may refresh
She
your
said
recollection?
sure. I don't
Thanks.
think you heard her.
I did. Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm the nurse. I should be translating. To me, it's like everyday language. So I forget people don't know the big words.
Show Mr. Brennan.
I don't know. That might be it. We were trying to figure that out earlier.
Yes.
Dr. Scordi-Bello, what I'd like to do, you can read anything you want, but I'm just going to reference to the section that says circumstances of death.
Yes.
What I'd like you to do is read it to yourself, not out loud, and then when you just that section up to here. And once you're done, if you could kindly look up and let me know.
Okay.
Her name, and I'll pin it in the chat.
Dr. Scordi-Bello, did that refresh your recollection with regard to the circumstances of death section of the death notification report?
Yes.
And you could please state now what your refreshed recollection is on that topic.
Yes. The initial intake death notification was made by a physician at the hospital. And it stated that we were dealing with a adult male that was found in a snowbank. There was note of having been at a party. There was some information as to the decedent was walking to a house. There was reference to some sort of altercation or dispute with
Sustain. Jurors, disregard that. Move on with this, Mr. Leslie. With this, but just move on.
Yes. In terms of the differential diagnosis concept that we were talking about before, based upon your refreshed recollection of circumstances of death as discussed in the death notification report, based upon that, did you consider whether Mr. O'Keefe could have been injured and died somewhere other than the front lawn of 34 Fairview?
I'm going to allow that.
initially, no.
Let's go to significance, if any, of hemorrhaging of the two organs we were talking about, the pancreas and the stomach. Is it correct that the hemorrhaging of a pancreas can be caused by many different things?
Yes, it is.
And to be clear, you found evidence of hemorrhaging of the pancreas of Mr. O'Keefe in the autopsy, correct?
Correct.
And is it correct before the grand jury, you yourself were evaluating whether the injuries had been sustained in a different environment? Well, let me ask it this way. Do you recall what your testimony was in the grand jury about hemorrhaging of the pancreas and possibilities of injuries being sustained in different environments? Do you recall any testimony on that subject?
All right, I'll see you at 10.
Are they going to sidebar again? Did you see her face? She didn't want to say kill me, but she thought it. You know, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I so am not cut out to be a lawyer. I would get so aggravated when I wouldn't be able to get my point across. Oh, I would get so aggravated. I would start crying because I cry at the drop of a hat. I would start crying. I would be like, Your Honor, but I need to know this. I have to get them to say this. I'd be in contempt. I'd be in jail half my life. Oh, man. I was much more suited to being a nurse. My biggest problem with being a nurse is I just wanted to sit and talk to people all day long. My biggest problem was time management, trying to get out of somebody's room when they wanted to just keep talking to me. Get out of there and go do other work. That was my biggest problem when I was a nurse. Time management. I don't know. I guess I hold up under pressure. I had a charge nurse that yelled at me all the time, and one of the other nurses asked me one day, Why do you let her talk to you that way? I was like, I don't know. I guess because she's a charge nurse. He's like, Yeah, but she doesn't have to talk to you that way. And then years later, this woman became my friend on Facebook. And she acted like we were best buddies. And one day I said, I was under the impression you didn't like me. And she said, why ever would you have thought that? I just laughed at her. I said, because you used to yell at me all the time. She said, I did? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I yelled at you all the time. I'm like, oh, okay. So no, we talk on Facebook. It's feelings are weird because you never know what someone's going through or they're weak. You always have to remember there's a shirt that I want, and it's it's I don't think there's anything on the front of the shirt, but on the back it has like a message to the person behind you, and it's like an uplifting message. I can't remember what it says, but it's so neat. But I want that shirt. Cool. It's such a nice gesture. Just to remind people to like not to worry about what other garbage people might dump on you.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. At the grand, if the injuries had been sustained in a different environment where the temperature wasn't that low, then there might have been an alternative X-ray call.
Yes.
Hemorrhaging of the pancreas can also be caused by blunt force trauma, correct?
Correct.
Hemorrhaging of the pancreas can be caused by CPR, correct? Cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
It's possible.
Do you know what a Lucas machine is?
Yes.
And a Lucas machine is an automated CPR machine, correct?
Correct.
And it's a rather large device, correct? It gets strapped down to the chest of someone. So instead of someone having to exercise, etc., you put on a Lucas machine that goes over the chest, and it automatically does the compressions, right?
Correct.
Lucas machines can cause hemorrhaging, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, wasn't a Lucas machine applied to Mr. O'Keefe?
I believe so.
And wasn't the Lucas machine applied? First responders came to the scene and he was in the. When a Lucas machine is used in resuscitation efforts, you'd actually expect to see some hemorrhaging, wouldn't you?
Where?
In the stomach, in the pancreas, would you expect to see it there?
Not as extensive in the pancreas.
Let's talk about and pick the pancreas first. So you would agree that of hemorrhaging in the pancreas, correct?
Not always.
But it's certainly possible.
It's possible.
And now let's move to, and there was evidence of hemorrhaging in the pancreas of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Now let's move to the stomach. Isn't it possible that a Lucas machine could cause hemorrhaging in the stomach?
Personally, I can't rule it out. I can only tell you my experience.
So your personal experience is you don't believe you've seen that, but you can't rule out that a Lucas machine causes hemorrhaging to the stomach. Is that correct?
I don't believe a Lucas machine causes hemorrhage to the mucosa of the stomach.
Right. I'm not yet at the mucosa of the stomach, which is a subset of the stomach.
Lining of
The
the
inner
stomach.
lining, and another name for the inner lining of the stomach is the gastrocrugae, Rugae, correct?
Yes.
So I'm just talking about the stomach in general, not a subset of the stomach. Is it possible that a Lucas machine could cause hemorrhaging in the stomach?
Not in the stomach, around the stomach, in the soft tissues of.
Sorry, guys. A Lucas machine does like automatic CPR. So a person doesn't have to stand there and keep doing it. And the rugae of the stomach lining, it's the inside lining. It's like wavy so that when your stomach fills, it can expand. It's the inside of the stomach. It's the inside part of the stomach. So it's not smooth. It's not a smooth layer. It's like crumpled, like so that when your stomach gets filled with food, imagine like a balloon that's not full, and then how it gets like tight and filled out when it's full. But she's talking about the outside part, because a Lucas machine would work on the outside of the body. So it's doing compressions like you would if you were doing CPR. So there would be soft tissue damage to the outside of the body and the interior soft tissue above the stomach. So there would be hemorrhaging around that part of the stomach on the outside, but not on the inside lining of the stomach where the rugae is, like he's talking about. Yeah, kind of, Carla. Like a mountain range. Yeah.
So you've said that you're aware that, and are you aware of the length of time that Keith was up to?
Not.
Impressions per minute Lucas machine causes?
I would have to say close to 60.
Would 100 compressions per minute be a reasonable amount of compressions for a Lucas machine to cause?
Sure.
So assume 37 minutes, and assume that would result in 3,700 compressions from a Lucas machine, correct?
Correct.
Could 3,700 compressions from a Lucas machine explain hemorrhaging in the pancreas?
You could.
And that
Sorry, guys. Hey, Robbie.
Opinion was that those hemorrhages, along with the gastric hemorrhages and his body temperature, were consistent with hypothermia.
My question is, your report where the
No,
and you agree that a Lucas machine can cause hemorrhaging to the pancreas,
it can cause hemorrhage in a lot of tissues,
but including the pancreas.
including the pancreas.
If you see hemorrhaging of the pancreas and you believe that hemorrhaging is a contributor to hypothermic deaths, wouldn't you also expect to see Wisniewski ulcers?
I did note gastric hemorrhages.
So the court reporter needs to have a spelling of that. Doctor, can you give us the spelling of that?
Would you like to give it?
If you'd like me to, I'm prepared to give
ahead.
it. Thank you. Wischnewski. So, can you just tell the jurors what Wisniewski spots or Wisniewski ulcers are?
Wisniewski spots are small hemorrhages, small areas of bleeding in the mucosa of the stomach that are thought to be associated with hypothermia, amongst other things. They're believed to be either a reaction to stress due to the hypothermia or some form of what we call reperfusion injury.
Is it correct that if someone is believed to die, at least in part from hypothermia, that in 90% of the cases of death from hypothermia, you would find Wisniewski's ulcers?
I do not know the exact number.
I didn't know what that one was, guys. I never heard of that one before.
Is it that you're not recalling what the percentage is for the percent of cases for death of hypothermia that you would expect to find Wisniewski's ulcers?
I don't.
Do you recall? Do you recall?
Hold on. Move on.
There were no Wisniewski's ulcers present in Mr. O'Keefe. Is that correct?
I believe there were.
Can you point anywhere in your autopsy report where the word Wisniewski appears?
I did not call them Wisniewski spots. I called them gastric hemorrhages.
Right, so you didn't use the term Wisniewski and you didn't use the term ulcer, correct? In your report at all?
No, I used gastric hemorrhages under the title of hypothermia.
Do you believe that all hemorrhages in the pancreas are Wisniewski ulcers?
You mean the stomach?
I want to start with the pancreas.
Wisniewski ulcers are the term is used to describe the gastric hemorrhages.
Right, so I wanted to clarify that. So now I want to move to the stomach.
Okay.
Do you believe all hemorrhages in the stomach are Wisniewski ulcers?
Not all of them.
Therefore, there can be Wisniewski ulcers and not be hemorrhaging, correct? Just by logic?
And not be hemorrhaging?
Correct. You can have a Wisniewski ulcer but not have hemorrhaging.
Yeah. If it's a
You
reperfusion.
could, but ulceration would manifest in what we call hemorrhage, the actual appearance of it.
What I'd like to do now is, Mr. Wolf, what has been in evidence, what I'd like to do is to, with your honor's permission, publish some depictions of first the gastric mucosa, and then start with that, your honor, publish that.
Not introduced into evidence openly, but at sidebar, right?
What I'd like to do is I'll start out with the one that is in evidence, which is the gastric mucosa.
Okay, wait,
Start-
Okay, the perfusion means that your blood is full of oxygen and it's going to all the places it needs to go to. So reperfusion would be like when you get cold, your blood is going to go to your essential organs to give it enough oxygen for you to keep surviving in the cold. So that's why, people, you hear people talking about they get frostbite, like people that have been like in the war and stuff and have had to be out in the cold, they get frostbite in their fingers and their toes, or people that have been been out, I don't know, like got stuck in avalanches or whatever, like they get frostbite in their fingers and toes and they've lost fingers and toes. That's because your blood wants to go to your vital organs to keep you alive, because that's where all your oxygen is. It circulates in your blood. So reperfusion would be that you get warmed up, and so then your blood starts to go back into the rest of your body where it's supposed to go. That's reperfusion. So I guess what she, like I said, the Warkowski, whatever those things are called, I've never heard of them before because I'm a nurse. I'm not a forensic pathologist. But if I understand what she's saying, it's a reperfusion injury. So I guess when someone is extremely hypothermic and then they're taken to the hospital and warmed up, I guess they're so hypothermic that they've lost blood flow to their internal organs. And then when they get blood flow back to their stomach, it causes injury because they were that hypothermic. If I'm understanding what she means by a reperfusion injury. So I could be totally wrong, but that's what I think she means. So I might be totally confused, but that's the only thing that I can figure. But that's what reperfusion means. No, that's more of a skin thing. That's more like of just your skin being dry. It's just think of it like it's kind of like it's kind of like think of it like fight or flight. Like when you get this rush of adrenaline, it all wants to protect you. So like things that don't matter aren't protected. It's just like life-saving stuff. Well, that's what your blood does too when you're very, very cold. It's going to keep all your life-saving warmth and oxygen and everything to your vital organs. It doesn't care if you have fingers or toes because you don't need those to live. Oh, like what they would look like? No, they would turn blue and then eventually black. Now, I don't know what your internal organs would look like, though. I don't know. Because, like I said, I'm not a forensic pathologist, so I don't look on the inside of people. So, I don't know. But I guess the little, like, they're calling it ulcers, but they're also calling it hemorrhaging. So, I'm imagining, like, little round, almost like little divots inside of the stomach lining, or yeah, inside the stomach lining, I guess. Yes, exactly, Carla, exactly. That's exactly. Great example. That's exactly what reperfusion is. Exactly. But I guess on a long-term basis and to an internal organ, it would be like such a shock to your system. Yeah, like a canker. Yeah, yeah, probably. That's probably what they would look like. But I guess if there's hemorrhaging along with it, it would probably be reddish, purplish, kind of, I imagine. I got to see, no, I didn't get to see an autopsy. I got to see a dissection of a human body, but I never got to see an autopsy. I wanted to, but the rest of the class didn't. Wimps. So I didn't get to. I was so upset. I was the only one in class that wanted to see one.
Your Honor, just to.
Okay, so that was the one I was referring to that we did at sidebar, not in open court. Okay.
So if this is like a slide under a microscope, I don't know why they wouldn't show it to
And
us.
I'd like
I want to see
to
it.
move
It should
in
be gross. It should just be like a slide
Right.
under a microscope.
All I'll say about this, jurors, is that this may be considered graphic. You satisfied with that, Mr. Alessi?
I'm satisfied with that, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Brennan, you satisfied with that?
How is it
Okay.
graphic? If it's just going to be like a slide, maybe it's not going to be a slide under a microscope. Maybe they're not going to show it.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh,
Dr. Scorbello, I'm handing you exhibit.
Dissecting is like
164
cutting a
evidence.
frog,
Also,
yes.
with the court's permission, have it published on.
Autopsy
whatever
is
one
a little
best
more
for you to
in-depth.
look at the screen. Please feel free to look at either one. Mr. Wolk, if you could publish 164. Dr. Scorbello, do you recognize 164 as well, you describe what 164 is.
This is a picture of the stomach of Mr. O'Keefe after it was removed and
It's not a, I saw
opened
it. It's not
and the contents were removed. And what you're looking at, this pink red surface is the mucosa. That's the lining of the stomach. And you had used the word rouille before. These are the folds. The stomach has a lot of folds. And what you can see here are small areas that are redder than everything else. That's hemorrhage, that's blood. And these are the gastric hemorrhages that I described.
Right, so those are what you just showed, there's dark areas, there's just a few of them. That is what you refer to as hemorrhages, correct?
Wisniewski's was correct.
Well, you didn't use Wisniewski's in your report, correct? You referred to
Correct.
them as hemorrhages.
Correct.
Okay, so what I'd like to do now is to, if I may approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
For the chalk.
Exhibit MM.
And with your Honor's permission, may I show Dr. Scorti-Bello the chalk that's marked for identification as MM?
Yes, and let's see what she answers before we use it for more questions, okay?
Understood. Yes. May I hand it to you?
Yes.
Dr. Scorti-Bello, could you please take what's identified as Exhibit M and see if you can identify what that depicts?
Yes, this is a picture of a stomach. Again, the mucosa with hemorrhage.
Not your fault for these, sorry. Not your fault.
Sounded like a wolf howl at first. I was like, how did a wolf get in the courtroom?
Your Honor, can we take a break?
Yes.
Jurors.
Yes.
Please rise for the jury. Jurors, right this way, please.
I can't wait till Saturday. I need to go yarn shopping. Making my hubby buy me some yarn this weekend. I need it. I need some yarn. I need my yarn
I'll see
therapy.
counsel at sidebar, please.
I need some yarn therapy. I've had a rough week. That Idaho, it's fine. Absolutely fine. I wish I had more yarn. I know I can't do it, but I want to do it. I want, when my kids come get their crap out of that room, that I have a huge spare room that is just full of my daughter's crap. When they come get it, I want to line the walls with like bookshelves. I'm going to make it a studio too, but the rest of the place, I want to line in bookshelves and just fill it full of yarn and color coordinate it. Like have all different shades of blue in one and pink or red in another and yellow in another and green in another. I'm dreaming. Yeah, but you can spin your own yarn. I can't do that. You cheat. You spin your own. I realize that, unfortunately, they're in their 30s. They still live with their mother. They're my stepkids. They still live with their mom, and they keep saying they're going to move out, and they never do. So every time they go, oh, we're going to get a house, they keep telling me they're going to come get their stuff, and then they don't ever get a house. So the latest plan is they're going to go to work at Universal and get an apartment down there and get free tickets and discounts for us. That's never going to happen. Never. In fact, the youngest one is an excellent artist, and she was going to go to Full Sail University, which does like graphics and CGI and stuff for like, that's where they make Avatar. And I was like, be able to work on some of the best movies in the world and make a lot of money. And no, she didn't want to be that far away from her mom. It's 2 hours away, y'all. 2.5 hours. That's it. Whatever. Now she's 30 and unemployed. Went to EMT school. I paid for her test. She failed it. Wouldn't take it again. You can if you want to. If you want to send it, I'll give you my address. Email me. I'll send you my address. I would love to move now, just the town itself, just where my house is. Can't find my house, so I can't buy stuff if it comes FedEx, and it's a pain in the butt trying to figure out, is this going to come FedEx? A new Amazon occasionally, but at least they try. FedEx doesn't even try, and they don't care either. It's not like they just get the wrong house. Took some to the wrong town. That's the wrong. It's, and it's so nice because the guy found us and brought it to us. And I was like, a perfect stranger that we've never met before. House, a professional delivery guy that has all kinds of maps and GPS and whatever, couldn't find our house. And they got photos of my stuff in front of other people's houses. So I call FedEx and they don't care. But if it's something I have to sign for, they can find us. It just, I can't stand it. I hate FedEx. I hate them. I don't know if the wool yarn, because I definitely don't want to be crocheting and get all itchy. That wouldn't be fun. Would not be fun. Yeah, I use acrylic because I just don't know. Why are you frozen? Okay, now you're unfrozen. Ups finds me fine. In fact, funny story. When my husband bought me my laptop, I don't think it was a special occasion or anything. He just bought me a laptop because I wanted one. I locked myself out of the house. I don't know how I did it. I have no idea. I went out with the dogs, and I don't know why, but for some reason locked the door behind me. So I didn't have my keys, I didn't have my phone, and I was like, oh crap. I'm out here. No way to get back in the house, no way to tell anybody. I went next door. Our neighbors are Mexican and do not speak English, so they didn't even answer the door. And I'm thinking, great, what am I going to do? And, Florida, so I'm burning up. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll go lay in my car. At least I'll be in the shade in my car. We'll leave the doors open so it's not like a sauna in there. And then Ups pulls up with my new laptop. And I was like, oh, cool, my laptop's here. But then I was like, but it's not going to be charged. I was like, well, great. Now what am I going to do? Then I remembered that we had an outside outlet. So I went in the backyard to the back of the house, found the outlet. First thing I did when it came on was I booted up Messenger and I messaged Travis. And I was like, I'm locked out of the house. I said, and I left the keys in the phone or in the house. He goes, well, then how are you talking to me? I said, the new laptop is here. So he came home from work and he let me in the house. I was like, isn't God good? He sent me the laptop at the perfect time. I was so happy to see that upstrut because as soon as I saw it, I knew it was my laptop. I got so excited. I was like, thank you. Because I kept praying. I was like, God, please let Travis call home to check on me. Because he does that sometimes. Because there are days when I'm not feeling well. I mean, I was fine that day. But sometimes he just calls to talk or just calls to check on me or whatever, So I was just like, Lord, please let him call to check on me. Just please let him call to check on me. And then when I don't answer the phone, he's going to know something's wrong. And then but then the upstrut came. I'm like, yes, that's got to be my laptop. It's got to be my laptop.
Please be seated. Court is in session.
All right, Mr. Alessi, you can continue where you left off.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I reapproach the witness?
Yes.
Dr. Scorti-Bello, you have in front of you, which has been marked for identification as MN, and you were discussing that. Do you recognize that document? Sort of start over to reorient. You recognize that?
I recognize what it is, yes.
And what is it?
It is a picture of a stomach, of the mucosa of a stomach with multiple hemorrhages.
And does that exhibit fairly and accurately depict a stomach with what you have referred to as multiple ulcers?
Yes.
Your Honor, I offer that into evidence.
I object to believe it's a chalk.
I'll you know what, if I can use it as a chalk
Yes, you
publication.
can.
Yeah, that's what I'll do, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, so he's going to
So you
use
can
it
have it displayed.
Thank you.
as a demonstrative,
Again,
but
I'll use
not
this as hard copy.
evidence. So they cannot take it back with them
Oh, so
to
it's not in evidence.
It is not.
deliberation,
It's
but they can look
marked
at it now.
Yes, hard copy.
Let's not be John O'Keefe's. This must just be a picture
Mr.
of
Wolf?
a stomach.
Dr. Scorti-Bello, is that the depiction that you were just describing at your witness stand?
Yes.
And could you please, with the laser pointer, state what you see in this depiction?
So this is a stomach. This is the mucosa, the folds of the stomach. They're not very folded in this particular picture, but you can see these distinct areas that are hemorrhages.
And to be clear, this is not the stomach of Mr. O'Keefe. This is a medical reference depiction to sort of generic or some other depiction other than Mr. O'Keefe's stomach, correct?
Correct.
If we could side by side this chalk with what is in evidence as the actual gastric mucosa of Mr. O'Keefe.
The objection,
Honor's permission, publish simply Mr. O'Keefe's
Yes.
gastric mucosa.
yes.
This is good, Bev. What is your problem?
There are, in this depiction of the gastric mucosa, than there were in the chalk that we just displayed. In other words, that green depiction of what I'll just refer to as a generic stomach. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you can take that down, Mr. Wolf. Isn't it correct that in the presence of Wisniewski's ulcers or spots, that you have to have a predominance of the stomach covered by the
Different grades.
in hypothermia, particularly death from hypothermia, wouldn't you expect to see a predominance of those ulcers, meaning they take up most of the stomach lining? Isn't that what you would expect to see?
Not always. I have seen that. I have also seen cases with much fewer spots, as you refer to them.
But isn't the majority of the cases that you have seen, when someone is actually died from it, the ulcers predominantly take up greater than the stomach?
Yes.
And what avoid putting it up again? So what percentage of the gastric mucosa of Mr. O'Keefe would you estimate is taken up by the ulcers that you have identified?
I would say somewhere between 10, 15.
Look to the issue of continuing with hypothermia. Let's go to frostbite. Evidence of frostbite on the deceased, Mr. O'Keefe.
No, I did not.
Do you know what the weather conditions?
Massachusetts.
I'm sorry, I keep saying Canton, New York. My apologies. In Canton, Massachusetts, 2022, going through 6 a.m. on January 29th, 2022.
It was very cold. There was a blizzard coming.
They called it a nor'easter, right?
Correct.
And when you say very cold, in addition to very cold, do you recall whether there were gusty winds?
I believe so.
When there's a very cold phenomenon of wind chill mean that the wind combined with the temperature brings the actual temperature down, and in addition to bringing it down temperature and a wind chill calculation, it also has a physical effect on the body, correct? Wind chill. Doesn't wind chill also cause greater effects than if there was no wind? Wind synergized in with a wind chill, wouldn't you, isn't it correct that you would have a greater chance of frostbite than if there was no wind chill effect at all?
Yes.
No signs. No. Correct.
At the time of my examination and at the time of autopsy, no, I did not.
Did you see frostbite at any other time with regard to Mr. O'Keefe?
I only examined him at the time of autopsy.
So at the only time you examined him, which is at the time of autopsy, you had zero signs of frostbite, correct?
Correct.
Dr. Squirty-Bello, now that you have gone through your this part of your examination here today, would you like to amend in any way your opinions as to whether hypothermia was any cause of the death of Mr. O'Keefe?
No, I don't. I still believe that there were hypothermic signs.
Hypothermic signs, correct?
Yes.
I'd like to move to another topic area, please. You did not include in your autopsy in any fashion any discussion of whether Mr. O'Keefe's injuries were consistent with a motor vehicle accident, did you?
No, I did not.
In fact, there were no injuries consistent with a motor vehicle impact on Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you evaluate it all in your autopsy, whether Mr. O'Keefe had any injuries consistent with a motor vehicle accident?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Yes, I did examine his lower extremities. That is protocol in any case of suspected impact with a motor vehicle. So I did examine his legs and I did not see any evidence of an impact site.
And could you elaborate to the jury what you mean by no evidence of an impact site?
I'm going to sustain that objection.
Why?
What do you mean in your answer, no evidence of impact injuries?
I'll allow that.
What I look for is some sort of bruise either on the outside of the leg or bleeding on the inside after the skin is reflected in the soft tissues, or any fracture of the bones of the legs. I did not observe those things.
That was going to be my question. You did not observe any of those things, correct? I'd like to turn to, please, the face of the decedent in your analysis that you discussed on direct examination of that area of the decedent. You talked about ecchymosis, you recall that?
Yes,
In medical literature, there's a synonym for ecchymosis. It's sometimes referred to as raccoon eyes. Is that correct?
Ecchymosis is bruising.
Ecchymosis doesn't cause a laceration to an eyelid, does it?
no,
Ecchymosis does not cause a laceration to a nose, does it?
there was an abrasion on the nose, but no, the answer is no.
Correct. So ecchymosis doesn't cause a laceration to the nose. Correct?
Correct.
Did your report at all evaluate whether there was any significance of the laceration to the eyelid that you spoke about in your direct testimony?
What do you mean?
Other than just noting that there was a laceration to the eyelid, did your report at all evaluate the potential significance, if any, of that laceration to the eyelid?
I noted it and photographed it, and it was part of the totality of the blunt impact injuries that I noted on both the face and the head.
Do you believe that the laceration to the eyelid could be caused by a blunt impact injury?
Laceration, by definition, is a blunt impact injury.
Do you believe the eyelid laceration was caused by a blunt impact injury from falling backwards and hitting one's head?
Not from falling backwards and hitting one's head, but that area at some point came in contact with a blunt object or surface.
Okay, if I could follow up on that, please. So you agree that if a person falls and hits the back of their head, that they cannot sustain an eyelid injury, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And if somebody falls backward and hits their head, they can't sustain from that impact back of the head to the nose, correct?
Correct.
So if we could, Mr. Wolk, and with your honor's permission, publish which is already in evidence, which are depictions. Let's start out with, please, the laceration to the right eyelid. And Dr. Scordi-Bello, is this the laceration to the right eyelid that we've been talking about of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, it did. Yes, it is.
And that injury could not be caused by a fall backwards and one hitting their head, correct?
No.
I'm sorry, we'll just need, and then I'm going to repeat the question. That injury to the right eyelid, that laceration, could not be caused by someone falling backward and hitting their head, correct?
Correct.
One moment.
So, Mr. Brennan?
I erroneously assumed that that picture was now probably foundation. Dr. Scordi-Bello, you see what's in front of you. Can we mark this?
So, Mr. Brennan, are you objecting to that coming into evidence? Okay, so let's just put it in evidence.
165.
Thank you.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
Dr. Scortibello, I place before you what is in evidence now is 165. And Your Honor, may I have Mr. Wolf publish
Yes.
165? Thank you, Mr. Wolf. So backwards and hitting one's head.
Yes.
And is that injury consistent?
I'll allow it.
Could be consistent.
If we injuries consistent with a dog bite.
Based on her answer to the last question, ask something else.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Ask another question. Sustained.
Can you identify any cause of
Can't put the
those
banner up.
injuries that would be
But
consistent with what is depicted on?
no, Jill, that was me that time. Trying to be a gracious host and put up the sensitive material banner. And StreamYard just wasn't in the mood to be polite.
Came to us. Clothing was removed at the hospital, packaged, and I believe
I didn't want to wake
No.
you up. StreamYard, please. Thank you. One more time to plug in. I'm plugged in. I am hardwired in. I've got 2 gigs up and 2 gigs down. It's not my connection, and I am plugged in. It's you, StreamYard. It is you. Quit telling me it's me. You're giving me a complex. It's not me.
You were unable to reach a determination as to the manner of death of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
That is correct.
So you have doubts about the manner of death of Mr. O'Keefe, and you consider those doubts reasonable?
Sustained. Sustained.
You were Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
In manner of circumstances surrounding death, in addition to the medical analysis that you performed.
I'm sustaining it, asking answer.
Thank you for answering my questions, Dr. Scordi-Bello.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Mr. Leslie, Mr. Brennan.
You missed it, Jill. He was masterful again, just like yesterday. About proof.
Doctor, how many autopsies have you performed in your professional career?
At this point, more than 1,200.
When the person is brought to you, are they usually clothed?
It depends on the circumstances. If a person comes directly from their residence, they may or may be clothed. If the person comes from a hospital where they went first for treatment, many times the person is unclothed. They may be wearing a hospital gown, but in most cases, that clothing has already been removed.
If that clothing has already been processed, is it common that it would be brought to you for inspection?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained is to the point.
Is clothing that is not accompanying the person's body commonly brought to you for observation?
Objection, Your Honor.
So let's move on. Or ask it.
You were asked questions about your opinions relative to spots in the organs of Mr. O'Keefe, and you were asked about part of your statement in the grand jury. When you provide statements, is it important to have the statement in context to understand it?
Yes,
Is it important to have a complete statement rather than just part of a statement?
yes.
And when you were asked the question that counsel asked you, do you remember that grand jury testimony you gave?
I remember it was a long time ago,
Okay.
but I do remember most of it.
Do you remember when he read part of your answer? It was in response to a grand juror's question.
Yes,
And he read part to you, right? I understand your question. And my answer is that I don't know, but given the environment, so if the injuries had been sustained in a different environment where the temperature wasn't that low, then there might have been an alternative explanation for those gastric and pancreatic hemorrhages. Do you remember that?
Objection, Your Honor.
The doctor can answer that.
Do you remember Attorney Alisi read you that part of your statement?
yes.
Do you remember that you had more to that statement that was left off when he confronted you with it?
I'm sure there's more to this.
Don't use
you
the word
complete-
confront.
Your statement, you said, but in the whole context, I believe that those are signs of hypothermia and not caused. Do you remember that completion to your statement?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained, you can show her the statement.
I can approach. Actually, take a look at part of your grand jury testimony. Do you remember Attorney Alisi reading part of your answer back?
Objection, Your Honor.
So I'll strike that.
I love the way he says objection.
You asked about your entire answer or just part of it?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You can read the rest of the answer that you weren't given when it was read to you.
Objection, Your Honor.
So this is phrased as refreshing our recollections. So follow it appropriately.
Do you now remember there was more to your answer?
Yes,
Could you share with us the rest of your answer?
Turn it over, turn the paper over, please.
Yeah, talk about context.
Ask the appropriate question, Mr. Gordon.
Do you remember the part that was left out?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Does it refresh your memory to the rest of your statement to the grand jury?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
After looking at this, does it refresh your memory to the rest of your statement you made to the grand jury?
Yes.
And could you share the rest of your statement with the jury, please?
The rest of the statement was that I have to take those findings in the context which was presented to me. So in the case of this particular case, those hemorrhages, in the context of a body found in the snow, I believe they were due to hypothermia.
Is your answer more complete in context?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You were shown a photograph of two individuals that were in the room at the time of autopsy. Do you remember that photograph?
Yes, I do.
And you were asked about certain names.
Correct.
You said that there would be a log identifying names.
It would be a log. Yes.
A log. Do you remember exactly who logged in to that autopsy?
You already said no.
No, I don't remember their names.
May I approach?
Show Mr. Lessie.
Do you think Proctor signed in? Come on now.
If we need sidebar to explain, we just need a moment to take a look.
I can move on and we'll come back to it, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
You mentioned that Mr. O'Keefe's body temperature was a little under 81 degrees when he was brought to the hospital.
Yes, that's what the hospital records stated.
And again, a normal body temperature is,
98 degrees.
so there was, oh, is it fair to say there was over an 18-degree drop in his body temperature?
Correct.
You shared with us that you generally understood it was a blizzard and cold outside. Do you have any experience on how rapidly a body temperature will drop outside?
The body temperature.
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. Scope.
No, it's within the scope. Let's see if she's got the basis.
The rate that the body loses heat depends on a number of factors. Depends on conditions, weather conditions. It depends on the original temperature of the body,
She did.
and the higher the
Great question.
gradient between the body temperature and the environmental temperature, the faster the drop will occur.
You were asked if
Did
there's
you
any
mention
signs of frostbite. There was no type of freezer burns or anything on Mr. O'Keefe's body, was there?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Was there any type of burns on his body that would suggest that he was put in some type of machine or environment where there was cooling, mechanical cooling?
Objection, Your Honor. Will we
Sustained.
approach?
Sustained. Move on, Mr. Brennan.
There you go,
You were
Jill.
shown a photograph, a chalk that had spots on them. Do you know where that photograph came from?
I do not.
Do you know who that was from, what person that was from?
No, I do not know the context of that picture.
Do you have any information on the circumstances which led to that condition?
I do not.
Do you have any information about what caused the condition that you saw on that chalk?
I have seen similar pictures in textbooks depicting gastric hemorrhages or Wisniewski spots.
You were asked about your role as a medical examiner, and there were a number of questions about your assessment from a legal perspective.
Yes.
You mentioned that you had information from a police report. How many police reports were you given?
There was a a preliminary police report, I believe, the day of the autopsy, and communications with law enforcement in the days and weeks following.
May I approach?
Yes.
Showing you a document. Do you recognize that document?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a police report on this particular case.
Is that a police report from your file?
Yes.
And that police report, is that the police report that you considered?
Amongst other information, yes.
How many lines is that police report?
11.
What's the date and time of that police report?
This was initiated on January 29th. It says at 1941.
I have this marked for identification, all right?
Okay.
May I hand the witness another document?
Let us mark it.
Oh, sorry, let me have that back.
Yeah.
QQ for identification.
Thank you. May I approach your honor?
Yes.
Second document, is that another document in your file?
Yes.
And is that another report that you considered?
Yes.
How many lines is that report?
5.
I'd move to have this marked for identification, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
For identification.
May I approach again?
Yes.
I'm going to go back to the questions I asked you about logging in and refreshing your memory.
Mhm.
I'm going to hand you a document. I'm not going to actually read it aloud. I'm just going to ask you to look at it. Does it refresh your memory on the people who attended the autopsy?
Yes.
And who were they?
I believe one person was Mr. Keefe and the other one was Mr. Corner.
Are you part of the criminal investigation team?
No, I am not.
Did you go to the scene and evaluate any evidence?
No, I did not.
Did you do any of your own detective work or investigation in this case?
No, I did not.
So when you were asked questions about your role as the medical examiner in your medical evaluation of Mr. O'Keefe's body, you were also asked whether you considered any part of the legal aspect. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
You were never, well, let me ask you. You submitted the death certificate on April 14th.
Correct.
I want to talk about some of the things that you may or may not have known about or considered at the time you wrote your death certificate or filed. Were you informed or were you aware that before you filed your death certificate, there was information in the investigation that police spoke to a first responder by the name of Timothy Nuttall, who reported that the defendant
I'm going to allow it.
said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Were you aware of that
I became aware of it at some point.
during your 90-day window?
I believe so.
Were you aware that there was another first responder by the name of McLaughlin who provided information that the defendant said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
Yes.
Were you aware of statements made by the defendant, to Miss McCabe, that she said, may have I hit him? Did I hit him?
Isn't that hearsay? Oh no, because it was an in-court statement. Now it's an in-court statement, so I guess it's not hearsay anymore. Right? The definition of hearsay is an out-of-court statement. Somebody asked me the other day if they changed their theory from the first trial to the second trial. And I said, I guess so, but I don't think the theory hasn't changed. I think the evidence has changed to support their theory. Their theory was that he was killed
So,
in the house.
jurors, I want to let you know that evidence that was let in is not coming in for what's in the statements. It's coming in so that as it goes to Dr. Squillo's knowledge and state of mind of her report.
Thank you. At the time of your death certificate that you filed, were you informed the defendant said, did I hit him or could I have hit him multiple times?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow it.
I don't believe I knew about Miss McCabe.
Did you learn that Ms. McCabe reported later that the defendant, while speaking to first responders, reported that she had hit him? Did you know that?
That, yeah, I was aware of that information later on.
Were you aware of the investigation regarding alcohol consumption?
Yes,
It can also cause stomach.
Were you aware that the police or Massachusetts State Police spoke to other witnesses about their observations that night?
about their,
Their observations?
yes,
Were you aware of an interview by Trooper Buchanan with firefighter Daniel Whitley on February 7, 2022?
I don't remember.
Were you aware that Mr. Whitley told the police that the defendant had expressed that she had gotten into an argument with the defendant that night?
That was part of the information I was given, yes.
Were you aware of a report from first responder Anthony Flamate about statements made by the defendant to him?
I don't recall that particular first responder, no.
Were you aware of statements provided by Kerry Roberts to the police that the defendant had called her citing Kerry John and the questions of did I hit him? Were you aware of that?
Yes,
Troopers had an opportunity to go and speak to the defendant.
yes,
Were you aware of the statements that she made to the troopers?
not in detail.
Were you aware that when they spoke to her on January 29th, she informed that she had a broken taillight on her vehicle but did not know how it happened?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow that.
Yes, I was provided with that information.
Were you provided the information that she had never observed John enter the residence?
I believe that was part of the original information, yes.
None of that means
Were you aware that she
car, though.
informed relative to the broken right taillight, she didn't know how it happened?
Yes, I was.
Were you aware that members of the Massachusetts State Police obtained John O'Keefe's phone and did a forensic data analysis on it
I was not aware of that until much, much later.
after you filed your report?
Correct.
Were you aware of location data that was obtained from John O'Keefe's phone before you filed the death certificate?
No, I was not.
Were you aware of healthcare data on John O'Keefe's phone before you filed the death certificate?
No, I was not.
Were you aware of battery temperature data on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone before you filed your death certificate?
No, I was not.
Were you aware of voice messages left on John O'Keefe's phone from the defendant before? Messages between the defendant and John O'Keefe before you filed your death certificate?
No.
Were you aware of statements from the defendant to various media outlets before you filed your death certificate?
Celeste, keep
No, I was not.
objecting.
Did anybody ever come to you after you filed your death certificate and ask you to change it?
No.
Did anybody ever provide you any of this additional information you weren't aware of at the time, ask you to evaluate it, and then reconsider your finding?
No.
Emmys go by the evidence of the body. They don't go by the circumstances of
You were asked some questions about
interviews.
impact injuries.
Yeah.
In your experience, are most pedestrian collisions where there's injuries to the lower legs, either frontal or rear impacts?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow that because I'll allow that.
Most pedestrian fatalities that we see are with impact with the front of the vehicle.
When you gave the perspective that you looked for impact injuries, was that with consideration of your experience that most collisions are frontal impact injuries?
Most collisions involve frontal impact, yes.
How about cases where you've had an opportunity to observe people who sustained injuries from being clipped, not hit, but just being clipped? Is your opinion any different in your experience?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained in that form.
How about a side swipe injury? Is that different relative to your expectations to lower extremity injury?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
A bruise on the knee, is that consistent with a side swipe impact?
Could be.
Did you do any type of biomechanical analysis of any alleged collision in this case?
No, I did not.
Were you asked to?
I'm not qualified to do that.
And so when you talk about injuries from a collision, are you in part speculating about what could happen to somebody?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained in that form.
Are you giving a direct opinion in this case about how the injuries were caused?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You were asked questions about a nose laceration.
Yes,
And you offered that was not consistent with falling backwards on the head alone.
correct,
You were asked if that was consistent with a punch.
correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
That's not the testimony. That's your objection. Mr.
That is,
Witness.
Your Honor. There's no question.
I didn't hear him ask that. Did he
Did
ask
you
that?
provide an opinion that it could be consistent with a punch?
I did provide that opinion.
Could it be consistent with broken glass?
It's possible.
Could it be consistent with sharp shards from broken plastic?
Possible.
Could it be consistent with first aid?
Sorry, what was
Could
it?
it be consistent with first aid treatment?
Anything is possible.
Do you have any firsthand knowledge of how the laceration on the nose happened?
I do not have firsthand knowledge.
Did you know at the time you filed your death certificate that there was plastic pieces of taillight found near Mr. O'Keefe's body around 5:45 p.m. on January 29, 2022?
I do believe some of that information was communicated to us, yes.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lessie.
Dr. Scorti-Bello, this Attorney Brennan just asked you questions about alcohol consumption. You had the opportunity to evaluate the medical records of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
And you had, in terms of the medical records, information with regard to the medications that Mr. O'Keefe had taken, is that correct?
I believe I reviewed those records at some point prior to issuing my report, yes.
Do you recall the list of medications that were in the medical records that Mr. O'Keefe was on?
I do not recall.
If I were to show you a document, might that refresh your recollection as to the list of medications?
I'm going to allow it. Is in connection with alcohol too, you said, right?
Correct, Your
Go right
Honor.
ahead. Yes,
Dr. May I? Your Honor?
yes.
Dr. Scorti-Bello, may I stand by the witness here?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Scorti-Bello, I am providing you with a document, attention to medications. And to expedite it, I am going to focus on the fourth item on that list. Can you state what that medication is?
The fourth item is
Recollection as in that medication is the trade name of omeprazole Pepcid,
I believe so.
and Pepcid is a proton pump inhibitor,
Correct.
and a proton pump inhibitor stops the
No, it's Prilosec.
stomach from releasing acid, correct?
Yes.
We'll come back to that in just a moment, but do you also recall at the grand jury in regard to alcohol consumption and potential alcohol consumption of Mr. O'Keefe?
I do remember testifying. Yes.
And do you recall what your testimony was with regard to alcohol consumption?
Alcohol consumption, I don't recall my exact words at grand jury, but alcohol consumption can lead to gastric ulcers.
And alcohol consumption can lead to gastric ulcers. And what gastric ulcers?
Well,
Proton pump.
they don't treat them, they prevent them, but that would be a proton pump inhibitor such as omeprazole.
Right. So, isn't it correct, therefore, that the ulcers that are observed in the stomach of Mr. O'Keefe that we talked about, the gastric mucosa, could have come from ulceration due to alcohol consumption,
It's possible.
as opposed to hypothermia, correct?
Correct.
Attorney Brennan asked you questions, which included the words, did I hit him? Could I hit him? Do you recall those questions?
I do.
Had that information before you issued your final findings in this matter in April of 2022.
Yes, I did.
So, even though you had all that information, you still were unable to conclude the manner of death of Mr. Keith, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Dr. Scordi-Bello.
All right, doctor, you are all set.
Thank you,
Thank you
Your
very
Honor.
much. I'm going to see counsel at the sidebar.
Prevacid is lansoprazole. I had to look it up to make sure. I mean, I know Prilosec is omeprazole. I knew that. Prilosec weren't the same drug, just two different names. I'm surprised Leslie got that wrong. They're the same class of drugs, though. What I meant about the change in theory is that the defense's theory, it didn't change, but I think some of their evidence has changed because they said in their opening this time that they had that he didn't have hypothermia, that he died in a warmer place and then was moved to a colder place. Unless I am misremembering or misheard. Man, I have down the past few days.
I'm told that we are on schedule. So with that, I'm going to let you go a few minutes early, so please do not discuss this case. Don't do any independent investigation into this case. If you want to hear or read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know and be very keen to media. So we'll see you.
Okay, I found a cute cat video that I wanted to show y'all. So we will go out on a pleasant, funny little. If I can get StreamYard to cooperate.
That we've been seeing out there here across St. Pete. Hello, Ninja.
Oh, man. Pause. Full screen. I don't know how old this video is. I'm imagining it's back during quarantine when people were doing newscasts from home. Yes, omeprazole is my friend as well. That's why I knew immediately when they said that. I was having a lot of nausea though, and they put me on a prescription one called pantoprazole, and nausea went away. I'm out of it right now, and I'm back to taking Prilosec though, because they told me they were going to call in a prescription, and they never did. I was quite upset about it. Okay, here we go. This is hilarious. Let me see if I can make it bigger.
And steal the show. And I was going to ask you later, but that's rain some places even more. It comes right across the state of Michigan, and that system could bring us about an inch of rain. Time needs to continue on. And you cannot give me eight guys that just pet them. Can't give me eight guys.
Here today, I'm Nicole DiDonato, live in East Town. And those details coming up.
Partly sunny with some sprinkles possible late. 56. Hey, look at that. My cat, Charlie, this he's ready. Every K position. Ven a asomarse. Un ciclo completo de la enfermedad. Entonces, cuando esto pase, lo que decían los gobernadores es que las medidas tienen que ser que that we've been seeing out there here across St. Pete. Hello, Ninja. Trying to steal the show. And I was going to ask you later, but
I love that one. I want to know where you get those.
Michigan, and that system could bring us about an inch of rain.
I want to know where you get those flower cones from, in case
eight guys.
In case Shadow ever needs one. Shadow has not been to the vet since she was a kitten, because she's never been sick, and you know, she had like her kitten shots and everything, and Travis gets her flea and tick and dewormer stuff from his store, and she's never been sick. I have no idea what would happen if I had to take her to the vet. I'm a little scared if I ever to take her to the vet. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming out. We will do this again tomorrow. Phil Spector in the morning, and then day 17 of Karen Reed. You guys have a good evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Remember, be kind to people, love your family, and Jesus loves you, and so do I. Bye.